Let me tell y'all a story of how the Democrats' problem came back to bite them in the ass. Oh, for this story, we're going to call him Mr. Petty, aka Joe Biden. See, Mr. Petty's whole journey to being petty started in 2019 when Kamala Harris got on stage and told him,
and that little girl was me.
See, Joe Biden kind of understood a little something. He needed some insurance. He needed some insurance that the Democratic Party would not try to oust him in the middle of his term. So he picked Kamala Harris to be the VP. A woman who gained no votes in the primary election. Because he needed some insurance against the Democratic Party. Because no one in the Democratic Party believed in Kamala Harris. So they definitely wouldn't remove Joe Biden from being the president, because that means Kamala Harris would have to be the vice president. Kind of reminds you of a story that Chris Rock said about being the first president, and he said he'd make his VP Mexican. So Joe Biden had an insurance policy in Kamala Harris. So Joe Biden was able to make it through his first term as the president of the United States because when they was talking about getting rid of him, they couldn't find a way to get around Kamala Harris becoming the president. So they decided to allow him to keep his seat as the president. So even though Joe Biden was getting names like Let's Go Brandon, Sleepy Joe, people was wondering if Joe Biden even knew what time of day it was. But see, the Democrats figured like, hey, if we could just get through 4 years of this guy, we could pick someone else to be the president. And Joe Biden already kind of said that he wasn't going to seek election for a second term. But Joe Biden said, nah, I'm going to seek election for the second term. This made the Democrats mad with rage. So they got together. They said, we got to get this man out of here. So what are we going to do? We're going to make him step down, or we're going to use the 25th Amendment against him. The Democrats thought they had a cool strategy. Obama, Pelosi, all the Democrats. Joe Biden, for 2 weeks, was defiant. He wouldn't step down. But then they threatened him with the 25th Amendment. So he didn't want to get impeached. So he said, okay, I'll step down, but I'm going to do something before I step down. And what did Joe Biden do? Joe Biden endorsed Kamala Harris for president. Oh, Joe Biden is getting petty now. He's being petty because by endorsing Kamala Harris, that meant the Democrats couldn't have a primary to find a stronger candidate because they already did not like Kamala Harris. That is the reason Joe Biden got to finish his term. So when he endorsed Kamala Harris to be the president of the United States, the Democrats' hands were tied. Now they was like, God damn, we can't have a primary because the president of the United States endorsed Kamala Harris to be the next president of the United States. So the Democrats now have a candidate they do not want. And Joe Biden already knows how petty he's being. He's basically giving the middle finger to the Democratic Party for trying to oust him. He already knows that Kamala Harris has no possible way of winning the president. But the Democratic Party is like, God damn, what are we going to do? We got to make it work somehow. We got to make it work somehow. So it took a long time for other Democrats, especially Obama, to get on board and endorse Kamala Harris. Because they really didn't want Kamala Harris. They wanted to have a primary election to pick a stronger candidate. So wait, they came up with a strategy. We'll do softball interviews to try to kind of hide her a little bit. We can't use the strategy that it's COVID and she goes away like they did with Joe Biden. They used the strategy, we'll use a bunch of softball interviews We'll get a bunch of entertainers. We'll pay a bunch of entertainers, and we'll berate black men for not voting for her. And we'll try to make it about misogynists. We'll dodge the issues. Oh, but little did they know, Kamala Harris was worse than they thought she was. So election night comes, Kamala Harris gets mollywopped. Joe Biden gives the most clearest speech he ever gave since 2020. Basically, his pettiness cost the Democrats the House, the Senate, and the President of the United States. The Democrats didn't even believe Kamala Harris could win. You, who all supported Kamala, you got played. I'm a puppet. I'm a puppet.